It's time for another Dice Tower review with John Richard.
Howdy gamers, greetings from Indianapolis, Indiana, the gaming capital of the world. It's time for another board game review with me, Indiana John. Today we're taking a little bit of a Halloween-y look at Till Dawn, which is a 4 to 8 player social vampire game. I have to tell you that I'm not really a big fan of the vampire theme in general, and so it's kind of surprising that I decided to back this one on Kickstarter. But it looked really cool. It's designed by Mike and Grant Wiley, Jason Maxwell, and Richard Launius, who is the designer of several games that I think are pretty interesting, including Defenders of the Realm, Arkham Horror, and Elder Sign. But this is a game about sort of pushing your luck. It's got a bit of an ink and gold feel to it, where you're going to be pushing your luck, trying to get blood you're on the hunt as a coven of vampires and trying to get all the blood that you can before the sun comes up. So let's take a look at this, the setup and gameplay of Till Dawn. And as we do, we want to try to answer the most important question in gaming, which is it fun? At the beginning of the game, each player is going to select one of these player cards, and they are full of very interesting artwork and flavor text. But really the only difference between the different characters in this game is the flavor text, the artwork, and this favorite hunting venue. And that location will allow the player to get a little bit more blood tokens at those locations. So that's really the only difference. Then there's also a health track here at the bottom. After you select one of those players, you also will get a deck of voting cards that go along with them. There's 4 and they're identical for all players, but they're essentially the Blue Moon, Blood Moon, Hunting Moon, and Refuse Invitation card. And we'll talk about those in a minute when we get to the invitation, but every player will get one of those. You'll take a glass bead and put it onto the number 5 mark on the health track, and then every player will also get a power card. And the power cards do various things in the game. Everybody gets one, and they might be standing effects that they might say play in front of you, face up at this moment, and you would place that in front of you, and it'd be some sort of standing effect. Or it might be some sort of a one-time effect that will take place when you decide to play it. So for example, the Slayer card says that you'll reveal it when a Slayer is drawn and either take 2 blood and prevent all players from taking damage, or you can prevent damage to yourself only, but you do not get the 2 blood. So it makes for an interesting decision that you have to make during the game. So each player is going to receive one of these power cards at the beginning of the game, and you'll get a new one every round. Now the game is played over the course of 3 rounds, and the idea is that you're trying to collect as many blood tokens as possible, and stay in the hunt for as long as you can, so that you can get the most blood tokens that you can then convert into these coffin tokens, and this is the way that you're going to eventually win the game, is via the coffin tokens. But there's going to be things on the hunt that might cause you to do very well and get blood tokens, or they also might hurt you and cause you to lose life, or possibly to advance the timer in the game. And the timer in this game actually utilizes the game box. And the idea being that you can stay out as long as you want, but when you get to dawn, then you die or fry up or whatever happens to vampires. And so the idea is you're going to take one of these glass beads, and it's going to start on the Till Dawn marker. And over the course of the game, as certain events happen, the track will progress like this. You'll go to here, and then to here, to here, here, and then when it gets back around to here, that is dawn, and any players who are still in the game are going to be out of the game and will lose any of the blood tokens that they have gotten during that particular round, and they won't have the opportunity to convert them into the coffin tokens, which are your final points for the game. So let's take a look at how a initial round, or a round of Till Dawn, works. So a turn in Till Dawn works like this. The hunt deck is pretty much the main deck that's going to be passed around the table during the game. And on a player's turn, the Coven leader, who starts off as the oldest player, is going to turn over one of these hunt cards and is going to resolve it. And it could be good things or bad things, and we'll go over some of the different cards in the hunt deck in a second. But after that card is resolved, the entire deck is passed to the next vampire player. At that point, then the vampires have a choice to make. They can either stay in the game and continue on, and then another card will be turned over, or they can choose to go into their coffin and go to sleep for the evening. And so then they will take their player card and will turn it over to the coffin side, and then any blood tokens that they've collected over the course of the game, they will then turn in and convert them into these coffin tokens. And the coffin tokens, which are values of 1 through up to 20, are the final points for the game. Whoever has the most coffin tokens at the end of the game is going to be your winner. But you have to sort of bank them at the end of the round by going into your coffin, going to sleep, and converting the blood tokens into coffin tokens. But there's going to be things that will happen during the game with this hunt deck that might cause you to end the round early. And if you die or undie or whatever it is vampires do, or if we get to the end of that dawn track here, and if the box gets all the way over to the dawn marker, then those players are going to lose all of their progress. And you'll lose all the blood tokens. So let's go over some of the cards that are in the hunt deck. So here's some examples of some cards that you'll find in the hunt deck. There are the feeding time cards. In this case, it's feeding time at the shopping mall and a value of 1. So that means that every vampire player that is still in the game is going to get 1 blood token, and the player who has the shopping mall as their favorite hunting venue is going to get an additional blood token, so they'll get 2. So there's various feeding locations here. Here's feeding time at the stadium for 3 blood, because there's lots of, it looks like soccer fans, or maybe that's rugby. I'm not sure what that is. But lots of fans at the stadium, so you're going to get 3 blood there, an additional 1 if that's your favorite location. So those are good things that are going to happen that are going to get everybody the blood tokens. Now here's some things that are not so good. We have the Sun Rising card, advance the night track by 2. And I believe these cards go all the way 1, 2, or 3. So that's going to make that night track go faster and might get you closer to dawn, or might actually push you over the edge into dawn. The contrary card to that is the Night Lingers card, which is going to allow you to move back a number of spaces, which will make the night last a little bit longer. So that's kind of a good card. And then we have cards like the Vampire Slayer. So the Vampire Slayer, if I can get that to focus there, yep. Vampire Slayer is a card that's going to be, it's like Buffy, it's looking for vampires there. So in this case, this Vampire Slayer, active players all take 1 wound or lose 3 blood. So you get that choice of what you want to do. But each player only has 5 health, and once you get down to 0 on that health track, then you're out of the round and you lose all those blood tokens. So you want to kind of manage your health and your blood pretty carefully with the Vampire Slayer. And there's several different kinds of Slayers in the game too, so it might be a different number of wounds that you take or blood that you might lose. There's those, and then there's also, this is the last kind of card they have, is called the Invitation. And so this is where there's a little bit of a betting element in the game, and this is where you're going to use your 4 betting cards. As you can see on the card here, it says the Invitation, choose 1 invitation card, if you have an incorrect response, you get 2 injuries. If you get a correct response, you're going to get a number of blood tokens. What you're essentially doing here is you're betting on what symbol you think is going to be on the next card that comes up in the hunt deck. So once the invitation comes out, no player is allowed to get out of the game at this point. You have to resolve the invitation and go on to the next card before someone has the option of getting out of the game. So each player will choose one of their 4 cards, and they have the option of choosing either the Blue Moon card, the Blood Moon card, the Hunting Moon card, or there's another card that is the Refuse Invitation card, in which you can spend a blood token in order to not participate in the betting at all, which means you don't get any of the bonuses, but you're also not going to get any of the injuries that you might get for an incorrect response. Once everybody has selected one of their cards and has it face down in front of them, then the next player is going to turn over the next card. So in this case, it's a Blood Moon. And so now you'll go back to the invitation card and see that whoever selected Blood Moon is going to gain 5 blood tokens. Whoever didn't select a Blood Moon is going to get 2 injuries, or if you decided to refuse the invitation, then nothing happens. So at that point then you will resolve what happens on the card itself. Here it's feeding time at the stadium, and then the game will just continue as normal. The only other card that's in the deck, and there's actually only one of them, is the Werewolf card. This says that the player that draws this card is going to reduce their health by 3, and then the werewolf gets shuffled back into the deck. So this is a pretty deadly card and could get you in trouble if you happen to be the coven leader at this point. One other thing to note is that there's some cards, like this card here, that are going to have a cross symbol on them. And this is the event card symbol. So whoever turns this card over and is the coven leader and turns this card over will be able to draw an event card. Now the event cards have a lot of different abilities and things that you can do. And these are cards sort of like the power cards that you can play at any time. So for example, the Sanctuary card says that you can discard to void the blood gain from a feeding time card for one player. So if someone's getting too powerful, then you could possibly deny them some blood. The game will continue in this fashion until one of 3 things happens. Either all the players will have turned over their cards and have gone back into their coffins, or all the players have lost all their life and have gone down to the skull on the life track there. Or if the Till Dawn track on the box here gets to the dawn symbol, then any of the players, like I said, that are still in the game basically get fried up or whatever happens to vampires in the sun, and they lose all of their progress and all of their blood tokens. The game will continue for 3 rounds in this fashion. At the end of each round, you'll discard your power card and get a new power card. If you have any event cards, you're allowed to keep those across different rounds. And you'll reshuffle up the hunt deck and the power deck and kind of reset the game and start the Till Dawn track there. And you'll start off with a new coven leader, and you'll do this 3 times. And then at the end of the game, whoever has the most of these coffin tokens is going to be your winner. So that is Till Dawn. You like my Dracula voice? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, what do I think of this game? I think this is a very interesting game that is almost great, and it's just missing a couple of elements to make it great, I think. One of the things I do very much like about the game, and once this is released to the general public, I'm not sure what will be different about it from the Kickstarter edition, but the components of the game are fantastic. And it's got the cool coffin-shaped box, which I know a lot of gamers will complain about, because gamers like to complain about box shape and tins and silly stuff like that, but I think that's a very clever thing. The fact that the game box is included in the play of the game using the little counter or timer here, I think that's really neat. It comes with those really nice plastic blood tokens. The cards are of excellent quality. The artwork I think is pretty cool and very thematic. So as far as the production of the game, I think this is absolutely top notch. Now, as far as the gameplay itself, I think that it's fun, but I think it's really swingy, and it's a lot more random, even than a game like Ink and Gold. In Ink and Gold, to use that as a comparison, you're going through this temple and you're trying to avoid the monsters and things that are in the temple. And once those initial monsters come out, you start to get an idea of how dangerous things are getting and how close you are to being completely knocked out of the game. This game has several elements that will allow you to lose the game, including the sun going up, losing all of your life because of things like vampire slayers. And those things come up very randomly. And we've had games where 3 or 4 Vampire Slayer cards will come up in a row. And we've had games where 3 or 4 of those Sunrises cards come up in a row. I believe I even played one round where nobody got any blood, and the whole round ended after 2 cards. And I guess that's fun and it's fast, so you can just play over and over again and just laugh about it. But I sort of want to feel like my push your luck decision making, that I have a little bit of a stake in what's going on, and that it's not a stake. Get it? Yeah, okay. But I want to feel like I'm actually have a little bit of control over what's going on, and that my decisions matter. Whereas this felt very, very random to me. Now the social aspect of the game that they kind of talk up in the rule book about forming alliances and being able to use those power cards to affect both you and one other player. The games we played, I just didn't really find that was happening very much, where there wasn't a whole lot of table talk. It might have been just the group that I was playing with, but there wasn't a whole lot of table talk about, hey, join up with me, I'll help you, you help me. because even if you help each other, you're still at the mercy of that deck of cards, and who knows what might happen when those things come up. So I don't know if it was just, bad shuffling over and over again, or just the distribution of those cards might just not quite be right or something. But I just sort of found that the game felt very, very random, and we had a lot of players just sort of shrugging their shoulders saying, I guess I lost, or I guess this guy won. And it just didn't seem like it was as much fun as it could be. So I think it's a great idea for a game, and who knows, maybe an expansion would help it a little bit. I'm always hesitant to say that, because if you have a game where an expansion will make it better or will fix something, then maybe it wasn't a great game in the first place. But if you are having a Halloween party or a scary movie night or something, and you want to have a fun game that can get a lot of people involved and that doesn't take very long, I think Till Dawn's a pretty good one. But I think that it just misses the mark of greatness by just about that much. So I think it's a pretty fun game, and you should check it out if you would like to. So that is Till Dawn.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.